In today's video, we're going to be looking at a new product from a new brand to hit the market. It's a product called Fusion1 from a brand called Liquid Laboratories. And I am very excited about this product. And you know me, I don't get excited that often. So what's so special about it? What's got me all excited? Well, stay tuned to find out. A warm welcome back to the channel, guys. As always, before we get started, do not forget to subscribe. So the backstory on Fusion1, three of my patrons, Rolf Copter, Muckmaster, these are obviously handles, and Mark, a more normal name, put me on to this product saying it had just been released and it's interesting, I should check it out. Went and had a look on the website, and I wasn't convinced there was enough going on from what I saw that it would be of interest until I got sent the SDS. And as soon as I saw the SDS, and I'll overlay them below, my interest level went up from moderate to extremely high because of the choice of materials and the nature of this particular product. The SDS told me straight away this is unique, this is quite clever, and this is very innovative. And we'll talk more about that later on. Let's just cover the basic fundamentals of this product. So it's a protection product that identifies as a paste wax, looks like a paste wax, but really doesn't use any organic waxes in its complicated, advanced formulation. So if you hear me refer to it as a wax, forgive me. Technically, it isn't a wax, but it kind of is, if you get the idea. The product costs £30 for 200 grams or 200 millilitres. There was some initial confusion because I think it was marketed as being 250 grams and people on Detailing World noticed it was less. So it is 200 grams, and I think the brand just corrected that, and I'm okay with that, but we're supposed to talk about things like that in reviews. So yeah, it was, it's 200 grams for £30. Now, this is marketed as a ceramic wax, a true ceramic wax. What's the difference between a true ceramic wax and other ceramic waxes? Because now there are probably over 100 ceramic waxes on the market that aren't true ceramic waxes. To my knowledge, the true ceramic waxes are wax blends or complex blends of materials that contain polysilazane resin, the same core resins that you might find in lots of ceramic coatings. So it contains the same chemical that's in a ceramic coating to a certain extent, and we'll talk about that more. What do these other ceramics contain that's different, that makes them not true ceramics? They typically could contain materials which you could loosely say are ceramic, like fumed silica, small particles, micronized powders of silica blended into the wax formulation, or polymers, liquid SiO2 or Si polymers that you could loosely identify as ceramic without getting into any choppy waters legally. So, but the difference is this contains silane material that you find in coatings. What are the other true ceramic waxes? Well, to my knowledge, Angel Wax Enigma, which we've talked about, Fireball Fusion, which we talked about many years ago and showed on the channel many years ago, Kamikaze Infinity Wax. Those were the three original true ceramic waxes, and over the last decade we haven't seen a big influx on the market of true ceramic waxes where they mix this silane resin in. Why? Because on an industrial scale it's problematic to blend that into a coating, especially with large scale kind of equipment. It's easier perhaps to make on a smaller scale, perhaps, but it's technically difficult to blend that in there. And if you're doing it on an industrial scale, you know, larger company, you'd need to apply for licenses to store the main silane resin in barrels and stuff like that. So it rules it out. And a lot of the manufacturer brands which supply to the trade, and I can recognise a lot of their products from SDSs, haven't done it. because of that complexity or unviability commercially or whatever. So there's only still a handful of true ceramic waxes. One of my patrons mentioned Infinity Wax Synergy Ceramic. That might be a true ceramic wax, and I might take a look at that. I just didn't realise that there could be another one, and there could be more. So put in the comments if you think there's other true ceramic waxes out there. Right, that's that segment. Let's move on to the next segment. Okay, the next segment, as part of the review, we need to talk about pricing. So we mentioned it's about £30 for 200 grams or mil or whatever, roughly. How does that compare price-wise? Well, to the other true ceramics, Kamikaze Infinity Wax is around £200 for 50 grams. Fireball Fusion is around £120 for 150 grams, and Angel Wax Enigma is around 150 or £55 for 200 mil. So the short answer there is that the comparative price of this is extremely affordable compared to those other existing ceramic waxes on the market. In fact, I would say this is priced in line with what you would pay for a paste wax. And if we take three very popular perhaps performance paste waxes from large brands, the Built Hamber Double Speed Wax, $16.99. That is great value, isn't it? That's kind of about the lowest price for a premium wax. Auto Glim Ultra High Definition Wax, that's 250 ml, the Built Hamber. This I think is around 44 to 50 pounds for 120 grams, roughly. Don't quote me on that if I've got it slightly wrong. And the Fuso coat is around 31 pounds, and I think you get 200 grams as well. So the bottom line is, for a true ceramic wax, the first thing is that this has been priced at an affordable price point that I think a mass market will be more receptive to. What do you mean? Well, how many people will go and spend 150, 200 pounds, relatively, that sort of price for a paste wax? Very few. So the existing true ceramic waxes are very niche, and they're for kind of guys that are really into it. And I don't think, with respect, they'll have sold millions of pots of those things. It's quite small scale. So the price is very interesting because it opens it up to the wider market that really want to try something that is truly a true ceramic. So price in this review is a very strong price point. And let me tell you something. I would happily pay £30 for this particular product. And really, the brand could have charged £49, £50, £100, and it wouldn't be out of line. They haven't, and I think that's a really intelligent thing to do, is to try and make your product commercially successful and sell loads of it. And to do that, you've got to make it a good price point that people will pay for. A pint of lager now is 7 or 8 quid. So I'll happily pay for something like this, because there's a lot more work's gone into this than a pint of lager. I'll tell you that for nothing. So that's our discussion on price. Now I want to talk about other performance criteria, and I want to move on to application before we start talking about chemistry. So because this product is quite unique chemically, my concern was it will be difficult to apply or problematic to apply. In fact, it could be so problematic that really it's not good enough commercially to, compared to commercial waxes that undergo a very, thorough testing process with wide scale testing and development, and they have to be easy to use. So the good news is that the application of this essentially for me is a pass, and anyone could take this product and apply it. To give you a rough idea, and I've made notes on application, I'd give the overall application like a 6 out of 10. That's not very good, John. No, that's fine. I would probably also give the Fuso and the Built Hamber overall something like a 6 out of 10. So the first thing is, this wax this material is very hard. It requires a little bit more rubbing of the applicator in there to get the pickup on it, and it doesn't break down, and you don't see that oily film like you go into some paste waxes and they're all buttery and oily and they pick up, and it's nice and easy to spread. So it's a dry wax relatively. It's a very tough wax. You put your finger in it, it's very hard. That being said, once you've got the applicator loaded up and you spread it over the panel, you still see the film of product when you're working your applicator spreading out quite nicely. In fact, not noticeably different to the Autoglym product. It has a similar feel. It isn't like show car quality smoothness and butteriness where it just glides on. No, there's a bit of drag. It's a bit dry. You get the idea. Now, the curing and the buffing. So you leave this product on the panel for around 5 to 10 minutes, I believe it says on the instructions. Yeah. When you do that, you don't get a complete dry cure of a wax layer or a film. I've got to stop saying wax. The material doesn't dry to a sort of crisp, dry film in that time. It hardens up a little bit, but there's still a little bit of looseness to it. So you could leave it longer, but I followed the instructions, 10 minutes, buff. Now, when you buff this product, especially with a short palm microfiber cloth, there's a little bit of resistance. It takes a little bit of buffing, but nothing beyond the ordinary. In fact, it's easier to buff than the double speed wax. Now what happens is, as you pick up that product and it's not completely bone dry, your first microfiber cloth, the face of it, picks up product, and as you're trying to buff more and more, you're actually leaving more of this product behind. Very interestingly, on the instructions, they say after that initial buff, go back after 15 minutes with another microfiber towel, or flip your microfiber towel, and then buff it again. And the reason they say that is it can leave a very fine halo of material that you don't get off in the first buff. Now the good news is virtually every single paste wax product does that, but very few tell you to go and buff it again. And it's always a good idea when you've finished buffing to go and take, I like those soft Korean cloths Imran takes, go back over the entire car with one of those just to get off that fine haloing that can sometimes be left that you don't get up in the initial pass. So that is okay. We've mentioned about the cure. Once you've applied the wax and you've buffed it to a satisfactory level, and check it with good light to make sure you haven't left any bits around the edges or there's no haloing or fine films left. It advises don't wash the car for a week. So, you know, with silane material, it cures off quite rapidly initially. So you'll probably get to a high level percentage-wise of cures within a few hours, but it will go on to fully cure within 7 days. So don't wash the car. But after you've applied it and buffed it, the car could sit outside and it wouldn't be a disaster if it got wet. But obviously the ideal scenario is to leave it. Okay, so there's our application. Overall, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. The Autoglym product here, I'd give like a 7 or an 8 to, because the buff's very forgiving and it's very light. A show wax maybe with the only products where they spread really nice, where you could get a 10 out of 10. But all waxes generally are a bit more problematic to apply than some modern forms of protection. Essentially, it's a pass on application for me. Next up, we move on to gloss testing. So we laid our 4 products out, the Fusion, the double speed, the Fuso and the ultra high definition wax, onto a test panel. Prepped that test panel by compounding with wool, panel wiped it, sectioned it off, applied it as per instructions, left that overnight 1 day before we did the gloss testing. The gloss testing results were pretty favourable for this actually. It incremented the most gloss, so the gloss performance on it was the highest. All very close actually. Now, but a win's a win, so that's good for me. The thing that's interesting is visually we sometimes comment on what the panel looks like to the eyeball. And the Fusion wax had noticeably less darkening effect on the panel. So actually out in the sunlight, the Autoglym product looked the best. It was jet black and really consistent. After that, it was the Fuso, you know, in normal daylight that looked like it darkened off the panel really nicely. Then the Built Amber, which was just down a bit on those 2 products on the darkening effect. And then the Fusion, where the difference between the strips where I hadn't applied it and the product was less noticeable. So it doesn't have the same darkening effect as some of these other paste wax products that we figured. But a win is a win on the gloss data. So you can take that whichever way you like. Okay, so that's gloss. Next up, slickness testing. So we, after that 24-hour cure, we then put some clean applicators all the same side and do a tilt test on it, which probably isn't scientific. To my hands, the Fuso is the slickest product there. It's the slickest product. And I sort of, after that, I would say that the least slickest was the Built Hammer. It felt a little bit kind of more, not sticky, but just grabby. It wasn't as smooth as the other ones. And then the Fusion and the Auto Glim, I struggled to tell the difference with. But in the tilt table testing, the PTFE based Fuso is the slickest and the things slide down quicker. But then it was this one, and then it was the Auto Glim, and then it was the Built Hammer. And I would say that is to do with what you're backboning the wax with. So this is backboned in polyethylene, a form of plastic that is probably slicker as a material than if you backbone with carnauba wax. Paste waxes with carnauba wax are not especially slick, in my opinion. And some hydrophobic materials that you can blend into these waxes are also can be a bit grabby. So this wax on a slickness rating isn't like a 10 out of 10 slickness, but it's better than your average paste wax. So I'd say sort of like maybe a 7 or something like that, just to give you a finger in the wind. So reasonably slick. Next up, hydrophobicity. Good news, we're comparing Fusion1 with 3 of the most hydrophobic performance waxes on the market, perhaps, big well-known commercial waxes. If I had to pick which product had the most hydrophobicity on application of all 3, it's going to be the Fusion1. Yeah, I think it's very close. It talks about providing a contact angle to water of 120 degrees, I believe. Don't quote me on that. There might be some mistakes in this. But I think it might be 110. It's in their little white technical sheet on the product. Either way, it probably is 110. I should really check that out. I don't think you can get much more than 120. I think fluorine has the highest contact angle to water in terms of materials, of substances you go and research. So that would give you maybe the maximum. But this is about as hydrophobic as it gets. The difference is, say if this is yielding 110 degree contact angle or whatever it provides, the other ones might be like, PTFE as a material, the highest it can give you is 105, which is very high, possibly 115. I should have researched this a little bit more. So if there is a difference in contact angles, it's like 1 or 2 degrees, and when you're testing it with low pressure water, they all present very similar. But this had the magic flick a little bit more than the other one, so I would put this as perhaps one of the most hydrophobic waxes on application that I've seen, okay, which is important. So very beady, very beady. Next up, durability testing. Well, I don't often do this, but I'm going to present that in another video. I'm going to wait before hitting that panel with detergent. So it's had about 3 or 4 days, and I just sprinkled some water on it, but I'm not going to wash it until it's had 7 days. And then what I'll do is wash it 2 or 3 times a day with pH neutral shampoo and a wash mitt. And I'll do that over the course of the next 3 to 4 months. And I'll it's that contact on it that puts an accelerated deg on. It's like washing your car repeatedly till you kind of wash it away, but not continually. So it's over the course of a month. So it's an attempt to simulate durability. It claims up to 12.5 months durability. Lots of products claim 12 months. The general rule of thumb with all detailing products is whatever they claim, halve it. And you typically, that's what you tend to see in a real world scenario, because monitoring hydrophobicity is flawed, because materials can still be there, but they can be buried and not display their hydrophobicity. And that does go on. That's not a get out of jail free card. But by comparing it to some performance waxes, if it can keep up with these, then we're doing well. And this is the original Fuso coat formula. My patron asked me if I could compare it to the new one, because that's what's available. No, the new Fuso roughly will keep up with Built Hammer double speed and might just edge it. So I figured, why not take the one that's known to last the longest? It's proven. It's a 20-year-old technology and not a lot can outlast it. So I wanted to see if this could, because the product claims are 12.5 months. This claims 12 months, and I've seen it do 9. So it breaks the rule of thumb, Fuso. So we will see, and I'll come back to you on durability. Right, let me end this segment, get that in the can. The next segment, the personal segment of why I'm so interested in this particular formulation and this product, essentially. Why am I so interested? Well, when you start off your journey as a wax maker, you typically start down at the bottom of the evolutionary chain, like me, trying to get hold of waxes like from anywhere, like some raw carnauba. You know, it might come mixed in with a bag of gravel because you've not got it from a reliable source, and you mix it with lighter fluid and some white spirit and a load of cooking oil from the cupboard. That's where you start. You melt it all down and you make a mess. And you work your way up the evolutionary chain and you start messing around with other chemicals and you develop an interest. And maybe within a year, you've got a good source of carnauba, you know, like a reputable source of that. You've got a reputable source of other waxes like Montan, Candelia, beeswax, paraffin wax. I even had PU wax pellets, which I tried, which are a form of plastic as well. So you build up your repertoire of different waxes and play with those. You look at oils and you try lots of different oils and come to the conclusion that it doesn't really matter too much on the oils. But you want a pure form of oil, essentially, a good oil. But typically people stick with organic oils that are doing this at home. And you play around with solvents and blends of solvents so you can get heavier solvents and lighter solvents in there. So you get a different fuse effect with the vaporization. So you get a certain amount of quick evaporation, but then stronger solvents which are slower so that they keep it more powerful. So that if you left the lid off, your wax wouldn't be destroyed if it was all just some very light, low evaporation point, fast flashing kind of wax. So you play around with a blend of solvents typically. Now this wax and this product hasn't started at the bottom of the evolutionary chain. After years of being in the evolutionary chain and working your way up, you might get to a level where you could mess around with some of these materials that this brand are using. So the fact that it started right at the top of the evolutionary chain is exciting to me because it means there's somebody clever behind it. Someone who knows what they're doing. And that's where I wanted to talk about the SDS, and it's not going to show up on camera, so I'll overlay SDS again. If we look at the first ingredient, it's PDMS, siloxane, listed as silicon fluid, okay? So instead of using an essential oil, organic oil, it's using a engineered silicon, which is a clean, pure engineered material. Why would you use silicon instead of, or silicon fluid instead of essential oil? Because it's purer, it can be more hydrophobic, it can have all sorts of properties that will make it better than an organic oil. You know, organic, you use olive oil, it's dirty. You know what I mean? You get the idea. So a silicon fluid is something, again, that I used and experimented with as carriers, and it is better than organic oil. Why have you got oil in there? Well, you mix it in with whatever you're backboning to soften your overall blend and provide more slip when you're spreading it, and hydrophobicity and stuff like that. That silicon fluid, I think, will be a non-volatile component that will still be in that film, you know, all the time. It can, the components like that can, you know, well, anyway, just carry on. The next component is a standard Stoddart low boiling point solvent. So that is probably a standard hydrocarbon. Whatever it is, it's low aromatic because I can't smell it. So it may be a low aromatic thing like an odorless kerosene or something. You know, I had a Stoddart solvent that was a mid-range one that I was looking at using, that, so I didn't have to blend. Anyway, it's a solvent and it's around 10 to 20% of the formulation. The silicon carrier is around 20 to 35%. The next component, silica gel, very, very interesting. I'd like to see what that looks like as a raw ingredient. Is that gel-like or is it solid? Again, I experimented with silicon wax, which was solid, and you could use it to mix into the blend to harden the overall formulation. But this I don't know. I think it's something slightly different. I don't know why it's in there. But silica provides low slip, and it's not. The thing with this is it's a gel, so it's not a solid. So it's not good to use micronized powders generally in wax blends, as we've spoken about before. But any solid, any micronized powder will fall out of the film. So even though it can give you surface characteristics, if you put fumed silica in, it will fall out of the film. So it's not good in terms of durability. It can give you some application characteristics which might be noticeable, but long term it might affect your durability. So it's clever that they're using a silica gel, 5 to 20%. The next thing is interesting, and it's only 5 to 10%, but it's an ethylene polymer compound, polyethylene. So like a plastic, like a polymer plastic, which would be an alternative to using a resinous organic wax, a resin, hard resin that you dissolve, but the same sort of principle. I'm interested in why it's using polyethylene. In my head, I'm thinking of a plastic that you melt down and it will create a plastic film rather than a wax film. Is that film more durable? Is it more compatible with the silane? Is it just more modern? Is it a better thing to put on your car than organic wax? Does it really make much difference? When I used PU wax, I didn't feel it was as glossy, but you'd only use small amounts of it. So yeah, it's interesting. It may be the fact that the polyethylene compound, the fact it doesn't darken the panel might be something to do with that. But yeah, I don't know anything about it, and that's what excites me. After that, you have a very strong solvent called toluene that you might find in panel wipes and stuff like that. Now, stronger waxes like Fuso and anything else that's offering durability tends to require a stronger solvent in there to soften it down more and dissolve it a little bit more. So yeah, it's not uncommon to find waxes with things like toluene and xylene in it in smaller quantities. You don't have to panic about that. That's a material that's in there for a reason. It's a strong hydrocarbon, a heavy hydrocarbon that will dissolve all this. And probably because these materials are quite advanced, they might need a bit more dissolving. The next thing is very interesting because it's the organopolysilazane. Ceramic pre-polymer. I don't know what pre-polymer means. Oh, because it's going to change. It's going to change state, probably. So that's, as we've talked about before, the ceramic resin is a true advanced resin with self-cleaning properties that was developed for coil coatings, facade coatings of buildings and glass, and putting on train carriages for anti-fouling, anti-graffiti properties, and it eventually got picked up by the detailing industry and turned into a material used to make ceramic coatings. It is an advanced material. It does give you some self-cleaning, and the resin that it cures to, and it undergoes, typically the first form of resins were silicon nitrogen based, and then when the ether that they're stored in dissolves, they are exposed to the air and they turn into a solid silicon and oxygen resin, hard resin that bonds to the surface. Okay, it's quite a clever material, and it's a harder material on its own. Okay, this is interesting. The concentration is only 1 to 5%. Most of the previous true ceramics boast somewhere between, I think, 25 to 35% within their blends, which is interesting. So there's less ceramic material in there, but I would imagine that's not too much of a problem. The final ingredient is titanium tetrasopropylate, or however you pronounce that. That's an advanced material as well. I think that's essentially a titanium polymer, that has been used in car protection products, and ceramic coatings. So it might be a material that you can add in to your overall blend to add certain characteristics of whatever that titanium polymer gives you. And I don't know what they are because I've got no first-hand experience of using it. I don't know why there's benefits to titanium, materials, but interesting. Very low percentage of that, but it's in there for a reason. The bottom line is that formulation is about as advanced as you're going to get for a paste wax that isn't a wax. It's really clever. And when I was making waxes, and it was probably about 7 years ago, I was obsessed with making waxes. If someone had shown me this piece of paper back then, I would have holy cow. I'd have been all over it like a rash. I'd have been trying to source these materials to copy. Be inspired. Done that joke before. I would want to explore what they're doing here as a wax maker because it's so advanced. The purpose of this channel is to get excited about detailing products and want to try them. But I've been asked to review so many paste waxes, and we have reviewed so many paste waxes, and I'll just I can spot the formulations and I want to know if they're making it, and I want to a lot of times I can see the formulation and I know the origins of it, and I'm just not interested because I'm just reviewing the same thing over and over and over again, and that isn't interesting. This is highly interesting to me because it's so chemically clever, and it's so advanced, and it captures everything that a detailing brand should be doing. It should be exploring new materials, doing stuff like this. And it isn't so much about how good this chemical is, because I expect when I do durability, my expectation is that it can't keep up with Fuso 12 months, because I've never seen anything that can. So I'm expecting this to degrade. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll see. If it does, that'll be pretty incredible. It's about the approach and the potential. So a brand that can explore materials like this and have a desire to do so have huge potential over brands that have no capability to explore anything. And that's just my opinion. So they have a massive potential. And if they carry through the same design and development processes that this wax went through into other products, accompanying protection products, then the sky is the limit. Can they make water-based products that can complement this technology? Can they carry across their expertise in the material choices used in this product? Can they gain the expertise in surfactants and decontamination products and other forms of dressings and car products that are desirable, the whole smorgasbord? Can they put the same excellence in? If they can, then this brand has the potential for the skies to be the absolute limit. The problem is that the process for developing this would have been time consuming and difficult, which is good. Nothing should come easy. There should be a struggle. So Rome wasn't built in a day, but I am now interested in this brand, and I want to see what else they can come up with that's very good. My recommendation to you, and I don't often say this, is regardless of how long this lasts and everything else I've tried to measure and tried to give you, my recommendation is if you're interested in detailing, you should be interested in this paste wax, and at the paste wax, this polyethylene material with silane in it, you should be interested in this product. And if you're not, then there's nothing I can do for you. There's nothing I can tell you or show you. And the fact that this is priced at £30, this will last a long time. You could easily do 20 cars with it. Don't quote me on any of that, but you know what I mean. It's a decent value proposition, so you should be all over this like a rash. Okay, Some other common questions you're going to ask me, John, if it's ceramic and I wipe it with my microfiber, do I have to throw my microfiber towels away? I'm not. There's not enough true resin in there, I think, to affect it. I'm just going to wash them and reuse them. With full-on coatings that are picking up high resin, high solids, and you're mopping them up, they can become hydrophobic, and that material doesn't emulsify and wash out of microfiber, and it holds onto the microfiber, it bonds quite quickly. So there is an argument you relegate microfiber that's used to pick up coatings, but I wouldn't even relegate the cloths that I've used to buff these out. I will see if they're all hydrophobic after the wash. I don't think they will be, because most of the material is stuff that I think would come out in the wash. Do you need to worry about health and safety with it because it's using silane? You would probably, as a precaution, want to glove up. I think it says that on there. I don't know, there's SDS and all that stuff. So you probably may want to glove up. But it's, do you have to worry about it? Does it need to be in a ventilated area? Well, there's a smaller amount of silane in there, and with silane can come small amounts of silane vapour, very tiny amounts. If you sniff a ceramic coating, don't do that. Most of the stuff you're sniffing is the ether and small amounts of other solvents that are in there to blend other resins. But generally, don't sniff coatings. Don't sit there honking in any paste wax, because at best you're going to be getting a lung full of solvent, even with a traditional organic one. But don't worry about that, and I don't even think you need to be especially careful about working in ventilated areas. Treat it as a paste wax, and if you're worried about all that stuff, glove up. I didn't. I don't tend to get lots of it on my hands and stuff like that. There we go. Liquid Laboratories Fusion1. In terms of interest and innovation and everything that a product should be, comes highly recommended from the innovative side. Less so on the performance side, although the performance looks good. It looks good. It's very beady, very hydrophobic and rapid. And I'm so interested to see if it can keep hold of that hydrophobicity and keep going, then it'll be cool. Does it offer some of the self-cleaning of ceramic coatings? Now, the marketing thing, the white paper on the company's website, there's a lot of things on there that I felt were a little bit marketing-y when I first read it, about the thickness of this being longer and it being as hard as a ceramic coating and stuff like that. Also, it was sort of saying ceramics are 70% contact angles to water, and this is 110 or 120 or whatever it claimed. Ceramic coatings can be just as hydrophobic because they're blended with other resins, so you can get ceramic coatings that bead like crazy, maybe even more than this. So I don't, you could argue the core silane resin in ceramic coating is only slightly hydrophobic, as we talked about before, and isn't a bead monster. In fact, some of the initial resins were very disappointing. That's in the early days of ceramic coating. So you could make that claim, but typically a ceramic coating is very hydrophobic as well. So and the hardness of the material is interesting, and the film thickness. I'm not so sure that's. Well, I don't know. The thing is, this brand are technically competent, so they know what they're talking about. And I don't. But it was claiming 5 microns of film as opposed to 1 micron on a ceramic coating. Again, the film thickness, which is very difficult to measure, even for companies with intelligence. In expertise, very difficult to do that sort of testing. Ceramic coating thickness can depend on the amount of core resins in there and your application, and layering, obviously. So ceramic coating thickness may not be 1 micron. It may be 4 or 5 as well. And this product thickness, I don't know. It may be more if you do 2 coats and stuff. So I'm not too interested in film thickness and hardness. I'm just interested in the layman's, and the layman's is good price, fantastic technology, very hydrophobic, slicker perhaps than carnauba paste waxes, slightly more involved to apply, but not problematic and not a fail by any means. Just a bit drier and harder than your traditional paste wax, and a little bit more requiring of that secondary buff with a clean microfiber. We've done it all. Go and buy this, guys. I will put a link to it in there. These are the only guys that I think sell it at the moment. It's interesting. It's interesting very interesting, and I love it. Yeah, it really sparked my interest. It sparked my enthusiasm. It got me excited. It got me going into the cupboard. It got me breaking out my finest formula of all the ones I made, and I'm side by siding it with my wax as well on a different panel. My wax is very hydrophobic, but it won't last, I don't think, as long as this, and it's not going to be as good, and it certainly isn't as advanced. But saying that, this paste wax has blends of solvent in it, has synthetic carrier, has hydrophobic polymers, has stuff to reinforce it, and it's not bad actually, this wax. It's not bad actually. It's ancient as well, and it still cures off and works. Anyway, it's not about me, and no, I'm not going to be attempting to sell that wax, don't worry. Yeah, so brilliant. Really got me excited, this, and I love to support, and show you things that I think are innovative. So go and get some, check it out, put in the comments what you think, because we're not geniuses, and sometimes if 100 people go and buy this and all test it, the information that comes back in the comments about it is really good. And when it's all people come back in the comments and people go on forums and talk about things, that's how things go viral from a product perspective. Fuso went viral in the UK because of the community. So this has the potential to go viral within the community, which is a fantastic thing. And it supports endeavour and innovation, like I said before. So very excited about this product. Fantastic innovation, interesting chemistry. Huge thumbs up from me, and it's got me excited about waxes which are not waxes. Take care, and I'll see you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel. Bye for now.
Holding on to what I knew, but the moment's gone. Where was I when you